penetration tests for Fortune 500 companies. Since then, I've been doing all kinds of things. One of the main problems which people get is, what is security? How do you define it? Is it a definable term? Actually, it is. In a way, in the industry, we define it by these three things: CIA. Does Khalid might know what they are, but does anyone want to take a guess what these stand for in terms of security? No?
Control information points?
No. No one? Do you know? No. Okay. So you define security by confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you have these three things, you can kind of consider your website or anything in life, your house is secure. So to elaborate a little more on what these mean and how they affect you, confidentiality is, say, just now Izzeddin's eCentral. The value he has is A, the books, and B, the customer records. So confidentiality is not allowing anyone to access the customer records. Usually when you see this in the media, it's classified as a leak. So if you saw so-and-so leaked 27 million customer records, that's a breach of confidentiality, because what is supposed to be private has become public. So this can have legal implications, especially recently. We have the PDP law in Malaysia about customer record privacy. So if you do leak customer records, you can become liable for that. Obviously, it's horrible for your reputation. There have been some companies that have shut down because they've leaked customer records and no one trusted using them anymore. And as for an intruder or a hacker, they only need read access to pull this off. So they don't need full access over your system, they just need to be able to read from your database, and that's it. Even worse is, obviously, if you're storing credit card details or anything to do with payment processing, then that can become a huge issue. The second is integrity, which is one step worse. That means they can alter your data. So obviously for that, they need write access. This is a lot less common. The most common would be web page defacements, which probably you've all seen. I mean, the government portals get defaced all the time. It's in the news. That's a very inconsequential kind of hack. A defacement is easily fixed. There's a slight loss in reputation, but other than that, the scary ones are the persistent threats, where someone's getting in and they're altering your data and no one knows about it. Because they're not leaking it to the public, there's no outrage, there's no media coverage, but someone could be in there changing stuff, changing your financial records, changing your customer details. So that would be a compromise of integrity. The third one is availability. So does anyone use Evernote? Yeah, I use it. Does anyone use Feedly? Yeah, I use it as well. So if you notice, last month Feedly was down for a while.
Yeah.
They were actually getting DDoSed. Someone was holding them at ransom. So they had a whole network of computers sending traffic to Feedly. So the Feedly servers couldn't cope, so the whole site went down. So they kept them down for about 2 days, and they were asking for money to stop the attack. So that's where a lot of people don't consider availability part of security, but it is. Because if you can't provide your service, it's down, it's unavailable. So the worst part of this is the hacker needs no access to your resources. They don't need to break in, they don't need to guess your passwords. They can launch this remotely. All that you'll know is suddenly you can't load your site anymore, or you can't use your app anymore. So it's usually short term, but it's very damaging. In terms of reputation, obviously, they have to do PR exercise to tell everyone, our site's down, Evernote's experiencing problems, Feedly's experiencing problems. And technically it's hard to solve, because they're just sending that much traffic that, the pipe's not big enough. So that is something hard, even for professionals, it's hard for us to deal with. Let's give you a few things which you can do if you're running a startup or any kind of business online. The most important is passwords. I've been doing this for 15 years. Usually when I go into a business, and the person is non-tech savvy, I can guess their password within 5 or 6 tries, even if they're the CEO or whoever. So, don't use passwords like this, please. If you're using one of these, I'll come and see you and give you one slap later, because it's, passwords, it's important. Someone can guess it, they get access to everything. Passwords are the most important thing. If you're a tech company, you're using Amazon Web Services or whatever, your admin login has a password. If the password sucks, someone can get it. What you should do is use a password manager. Even for your personal stuff, your Gmail, your Hotmail, your Laoyat login. Generate a good password, put it in a password manager. You don't have to remember passwords. You don't have to use variations of the same passwords. Use a different password for every site. Because one thing a lot of people don't realize, you might use a weak password on one site, but then that site gets hacked. So the hacker has your password. He can then use your email address on all the other sites with the same, if you're using the same password, yeah, he hacked that site, but then he got access to all your accounts. And it's happened to a lot of people. So don't reuse the same password on everything. Because
Yeah, I remember one commando that got their passwords out.
Yeah, and it was
I copied an email, go to Yahoo and paste the same password that I found there and
logged in, yeah. I did it before as well as a test. Because sometimes the passwords get leaked in plain text, like Khalid said. You can just say, okay, this is this guy's Yahoo account. I bet it's the same account at Hotmail and Gmail. Yeah, it's the same account, same password. So, it's a really bad habit. Especially when you get to the company level, because you're managing important resources. Change password when someone leaves the company, obviously, because they might have saved it somewhere else. There's a bunch of tools you can use if you've got a low budget. This one's free, KeePassX. If you're doing it on a team, you can put it in Dropbox, so your whole team can access this. You can save your passwords, and it has a password generation feature, so you can get yourself proper secure passwords. Resource management is another step from that. Say you're building tech products, you've probably got your code on GitHub or something. You're using Amazon Web Services, Linode. Make sure everything's as separate as it can be. Make sure the master account is under the company, not under a person. I had one company come to me about 18 months ago, I think, a startup in KL. And what had happened was the domain and the AWS host was under one guy. And I don't know, they had some kind of falling out. And he was the CTO. But he took the whole company hostage because he had the code and the servers and the domain and everything. And the rest of them couldn't do anything because they couldn't log in. It was on his personal account. So they couldn't even write to Amazon and say, look, this is our company, give it back to us. Because it was his account, his personal name. So they lost everything. They had to explain to their VC partner why their last year of work had gone up in smoke. So, this kind of stuff, you might not think it's important. You might think everyone you're working with is an angel, but they're not. And things do happen. People get pissed off. Just be careful. Set things up properly. If you're not sure how, ask someone like me or Khalid or Kevin that we know how to help you do it properly. Turn on as much security as you can. Everything, even Gmail, my personal Gmail, I'm using two-factor auth. So you have an app in your phone, when you log in, it'll give you a 6-digit number and you can verify that you are the person logging into the account. So if you're using Amazon, if you're using GitHub, they all have two-factor auth, at least for the master account, turn it on. There was a company about 2 weeks ago called CodeSpaces, which is a code hosting company. Somehow someone managed to get into their Amazon management console and deleted everything. They deleted their code, their servers, and their backups. So they had to shut down. They had a few 100,000 customers, paying customers, but it's all gone. A, because of password security. B, because they didn't use two-factor auth. So that's an established, profitable company that's been around for a while, and now it's gone just because of it's a fairly small mistake. See, the biggest part of security is education. The weakest part we say in security is wet. So that's you guys. We have this thing called social engineering, which the guy famous for this is Kevin Mitnick. He wrote a book about it, Art of Deception. If you're interested to learn more about social engineering, read this book. It might be on eCentral, it might not. I don't know. But social engineering is if you know what phishing is, when you get emails saying you've won 25 million, that's a very base form of social engineering. The advanced guys, they will find out who you are, where you live, what you like, who your friends are, and they will engineer the situation so that when they come to you, you will believe them. They'll say they're from a bank, they're from TNB, you'll let them into their office, they'll plug a USB in somewhere, everything's gone. So education, just tell people, think about what you're doing, think about who you're giving access to. Just be aware. People are prone to social engineering. If you're a CEO, a company founder, you're a tech guy, it's your job to let people know about this stuff. Just make them aware. If any of you developers, safe coding practice, the information for this stuff's out there on the web. If you want to know, there's it's a community security organization called OWASP. They have a top 10 list of vulnerabilities. So if you're interested to know what you can do to improve your code, just check out the top 10. But basically, don't trust user input. Always hash password, don't store them in plain text. Build your APIs with authentication. And if you can, use a framework, because it's peer reviewed. The community's looked at it. We know it's secure. DDoS protection, like I mentioned earlier with Evernote and Feedly. There are some options out there. If you're using Cloudflare, you're pretty safe to encapsulate as well. And if you've got a budget, you can use Akamai, which is what the big corporates use. But if you're getting DDoS, if you're popular and you're making money, it is a serious risk, because there's people out there with the power to do it that want to hold you ransom. So they'll take your site down and say, give us 100,000 USD. We'll stop attacking you. So it does happen. There are ways to mitigate. I say mitigate because you can't stop it. If it's big enough, even these companies can't really help you. It will take them down as well. So there's things you can do to make it less serious, but you can't stop it from happening. Platform security. If you're using an open source platform, WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, any kind of e-commerce platform, always keep it up to date. If it comes out today, it's probably a security fix. Install it today. Subscribe to the mailing list of whatever you use and keep up to date. Make sure you're updating. A lot of the government hacks, the defacements, were because Drupal. They're using an old version. Because like Kevin said, it's a one-hit job. They pay someone to do it, but they don't pay the maintenance. So no one ever updated it. So a lot of them were because of that. If you have the budget, use a specialist host, because they take care of a lot of the security concerns. Use as few plugins as possible. A lot of the security issues come from plugins, not from the core. Like generally, WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, if you keep it up to date, it's pretty secure. Once you start adding plugins that are not audited, then your risk profile is growing. Basically, that's about it. If you're, like I say, if you're interested in more, you can follow Darknet site or Twitter or Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Charlene Tiger, Twitter, Charlene Tiger. So that's it. Any questions? No? Okay.